Greg Tupper and Greg Powers of Dave Campbell's Texas Football here on National Signing Day 2023, breaking down the latest news, notes, and overall takeaways from recruiting's biggest days. And let's go down to College Station and talk a little bit about the fighting Texas Aggies there of Texas A&M. Powers, last year they hauled in the nation's #1 recruiting class, much ballyhooed. We talked a lot about just the star-studded nature of that recruiting class. This year, they faced, let's call it, some adversity as far as their record is concerned, finishing 5-7 on the year. So all things considered, when you balance all those things together, how do you feel like Jimbo Fisher and staff did this year with this class of 2023?
I think Texas A&M fans look at this class and feel like it could be some sort of letdown based around the fact that they had the #1 class last year. I don't feel that way at all. I think this is a tremendous class, and I'm going to start, kind of right at the top. They signed the number 13 class in the country, coming off of a 5-7 year, to match with some of the talent that they brought in last year. Of course, there's been some attrition. I think last we checked, there's been over 25 names from that roster that's entered the transfer portal, so things are going to be different. But they signed the #1 player, our DCTF Rising cover boy, David Hicks Jr. from Katy Pato. This guy is an animal, right? He went to the Under Armour game and dominated the practices. He dominated in the game. They had a double. The best players in the country at the high school level had a double and triple team him in an all-star game to keep him out of the backfield. 6'4", 270-pounder. He moves like a 225, 230-pound edge defender, but he's built like a defensive tackle. This guy has all the tools that you're looking for to be a success at the next level. Son of a coach, physically ready to go, great technique, and a quick first step. David Hicks Jr. is a dude. That's at the top of the class. But I have to talk about Rueben Owens, too. Like, I can't not talk about Rueben Owens. He's been our #1 running back for a really long time. He burst onto the scene at El Campo as a freshman. He was a 4-year varsity player there. I really think that Rueben Owens can change that offense quickly. He's got tremendous acceleration. But what I really love about his game is his ability to make people miss the second and third levels. He's got great feet. And he runs stronger and he's bigger than people kind of give him credit for. The best players to me are the ones who are unique and different. And Rueben Owens just mixes in like a running style or a playing style that is original to Rueben Owens. And that's what I love about his game. So just starting at the top, right? They signed 2 Texas 5-stars, David Hicks Jr., Rueben Owens. That's good. Like, most people would take that and be like, done. Right, done. But they have a pretty good class all in all.
Yeah, I would say that really that's my big takeaway. My big takeaway is if you compare it to last year's class, like, yeah, it's a step back, but like it was always going to be a step back unless you signed again the greatest class of all time. So right. I don't know. I think that overall A&M fans have to be pretty pleased. So there's a lot of star power. You mentioned it, but I know you love a sleeper. And sleep. There are a handful in this class. Who are the kind of under the radar guys that A&M fans should be excited about, and why is it Torian York from Temple, who's like one of my favorite players in the state?
I knew that you were going to love the answer to this question when you were setting up. The Temple tackling machine, Torian York. This is we've been really high on him from the very beginning. What's really cool about watching Torian York's development at Temple is he started as a freshman. Temple was one of these freshmen don't start at Temple, especially at middle linebacker. That's just not something that's common. And he was really good as a freshman. We knew, I think he was in our DCTF Rising top 25. If not, he was a sophomore top 50. He was one of these guys who has been on the radar for a while, but he's kind of grown up in front of our eyes within that system. He was a little bit undersized when he first burst onto the radar. I think he was like 5'9" or 5'10" whenever he was a freshman. Well, now that he's graduating and going on to college, he's in that 6'1" range. He was a no shoes 6 foot at the Next Level Athlete Camp back in January of 2022. And he looked bigger to me when I watched him this fall in the field. he has a tremendous nose for the football. He's very intelligent. He wastes no steps, and I think that Texas A&M fans are going to quickly fall in love with him as he develops within that defensive scheme. I think he's like to me, he's one of those 3 stars that we talk about. He's number 59 in our DCTF Hot 100 that should be a 4-star. To me, he's like a no doubter because he's a football playing dude, right? That's like the highest honor. When you go around to like these coaching conventions and stuff and somebody says he's a football playing dude, that's a high honor. And I do want to shout out one more sleeper, okay? Ryland Kennedy, an edge defender from the Mansfield area, didn't play football. He was a basketball guy who transitioned over to the gridiron from the hardwood. He had a tremendous senior season, and he is the definition of the word sleeper because not a lot of people really knew about him coming into the year. No one was recruiting him, and he got a Texas A&M offer and committed. So tremendous first step explosion, can really get after the quarterback. Mike Evans was a guy that everybody overlooked out of Galveston, and Ryland Kennedy could be the Mike Evans of this class, just a different position.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see kind of some of these guys under the radar there for A&M. Okay, so let's talk QB. They feel like they've got their guy in Connor Wigman, but of course they've suffered from a bunch of injuries and couldn't settle on a quarterback basically last year. When you take a look at the 2023 class, what did they do under center? Behind center, I should say, to address the quarterback room?
Well, they needed depth, and they went and found a quarterback who I really like him. His name's Marcel Reed. He's from Montgomery Bell Academy out of Nashville, Tennessee. He's a top 20 rated quarterback nationally, 6'1", 175 pounds. Also a tremendous basketball player. So he's a multi-sport high school athlete, son of a coach. Watching his tape, just evaluating it. And I can't speak to the level of competition that someone in Tennessee plays. It's just not on my recruiting beat, right? But he has a tremendously quick release, makes very quick reads, and I like the way that he presses the action. He's very aggressive. I don't think that he has an elite NFL arm at this point. I think that Connor Wigman is going to have the edge in that area. He's going to have a year of experience, but you need to have someone behind Wegman that can play. We saw that this year because they suffered so many injuries. You can't just have one quarterback in the SEC. And I think Marcel Reed is a guy who can come in and provide depth, and his ability as a runner, his ability to make quick decisions, the fact that he's intelligent and the son of a coach makes him a guy that you could probably at least depend on in a crunch situation. And they don't have one yet, but I got to think that they're looking still into the possibly a transfer quarterback coming in to add some depth as well. Reed, I think, will fit in with Bob. But Bobby Petrino is like a guy who isn't going to be pinned down to one offensive style. He's going to use a style that fits the roster, I think, most naturally. And I think that he can get the job done with the quarterbacks he has on the roster, and Marcel Reed's a pretty good one. He was a 247 4-star guy.
It's never boring down there in College Station.
No, it's
not. They've always got something to talk about, including what is a pretty darn good 2023 recruiting class. Powers, appreciate your time, my friend.
Thanks for having me.